Sadie, good evening. Nate brought the refreshment. They said you were bringing the refreshments.
I got some water, you can have some.
Hey, it's cool. I got a minute. All right, I have 7:30. We'll call this meeting to order. I'm gonna take attendance first, and then we'll start the public hearing. Nate.
Here.
Ellie. John. Steve.
Yes.
Cindy.
Here.
Mike. Reese. Dennis. Three absent. Sadie.
Here.
Karen.
Here.
All right. We've got a quorum. Fire it up. I think I'm gonna hold on the minutes from the last meeting. Just because we've got a public hearing, and I'd like to do the public hearing first and open it up for the public to speak. Anybody have any questions or complaints? All right, we'll go ahead and start.
I'm just gonna shut the door because that's phone ringing in the hallway.
Hello? We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, and I have 7:32. Is that okay, Roger?
Yep.
Tonight, we're just going to have, everybody's going to read a section. And what we're going to do is give the number for last year and the number for this year, and then we'll move on. And I think I would like to wait until the end for the public to speak, and then just tell us where you are, and we'll catch right up to you. But this will get it all done, and then the public can speak. Yay, nay.
Dave, are you reading 22 budget or 22 year-to-date spend?
We don't have you today. Well, this
All
one,
do is year-to-date spend. Which column were you reading?
well, it's, the problem with year to date. We can include that. We'll do the budget year to date and then the budget for next year. That makes sense? I'm looking for nodding heads, yes. It'll be one more addition, but I think that'll be a little more transparent, a little clearer to people. All right, everybody okay with the assignments? Who are we missing? We're missing Mike. What's that? Okay, yeah, right, he did. John and Dennis didn't, so Mike is right at the end, so he's John is here. We have a winner. All right, so we'll start out with Karen, if you want to go ahead. Karen's going to do her section, through election. Mike is here too, everybody's here. Except for Dennis. All right. We'll give Mike a good,
So. For the executive.
okay, yep. Now, if everybody could not have a conversation while Karen's trying to read. It's going to be a little clearer.
So the 2022 budget amount was $20,912. The amount expended this year is $36,417.38. And the amount for next year budgeted is $21,598.37. Okay. For the town administrator, the budget for 2022 was $124,227.51. Expended so far, or I guess. That's through is that through December 31st? Is that it expended?
No, that would.
No, I think there's one more manifest if I'm not,
I would say there's a couple. I would have said this was,
Yeah,
this
so
was
it's-
the budget as approved by the committee, so it would have been mid-December, say.
Okay, so I see. Okay, so expended. 22 year to date, $72,817.06. And the budget for 2023, $88,739.75. Meaning expenses, $2,695.24 and 22, expended $1,954. Budgeted for this coming year, $2,745.23. For the town clerk, town assistant line. The budget for 2022, $108,387.20. Expended year to date, $79,097.59. And the budget for 2023, $112,181.94. And for elections. The budget 2022, $6,250. Expended $5,467.27. And the budget for 2023 is $4,600. Probably less because there's fewer elections.
yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
that's-
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, John, you want to do that next section or you want to get a breather and we'll come back? Oh, okay, all right. All right,
Finance,
go ahead, John.
finance, looks like the 22 budget was 104,833.72. And expended was 88,127.78.
If we could hold down the conversation, Ally. Mike, thank you.
The 2023 budget is 110,592.81. Budget committee last year was 2030. Expended was 880. And the 23 budget is 2030.05. On the third page.
A 5-cent raise.
The treasurer was last year 7598.91 with an expense of 5969.47. And the plan for next year 8628.03. Trustees of the trust funds 7778.86 last year. Nothing spent. 834.86 next year. I guess we do have, we can see in the 22 encumbered column is the full amount has been passed March 4th. Data processing last year 54317.73, spent 44792.91, and this year will be 61351.20. At the end of the month.
No, I think you've got
One more, okay.
assessing. Yep.
Is 101,279.46 last year. Spent 68,983.63. The staffing was reduced a bit there. 97627.50 is the plan for next year.
Thank you. Legal. Last year, 112,400, spent so far is 88,416.10. And for 23, it's 112,700. Personnel. Let's see, administration, 550. 549 for 22, spent so far 416. 881.99 cents. And then for 23, it is 72,417. 572. Sorry, I thought that was a dollar sign.
Wishful thinking.
Say this.
Say, look at the money. Planning board. Last year it was 1305. Spent 72.03. I suspect there's more in the manifest. Next year it'll be 1305 again. You don't get the 5 cents. Government buildings. Last year, 126, 452.43. Spent so far was 71,406.94. And next year it's going to be 96, 384.71. I believe that's the end of it.
All right.
All right, Nate's on.
Cemeteries, 2022 budget was 26,935.31. Year to date, $16,906.18, and the 2023 budget is $32,423.37. Property and liability insurance, budget for last year, 2022, was $70,743. Year to date, $66,229.21, and the budget for 2023 is $77,877.00. General government. 2022 budget was $50,866.54. Year to date, $57,333.75. And the budget for 2023 is $53,880.26. Police department, last year's budget, 2022, was $783,833.04. The year to date, $620,325.63. And the budget for 2023, $865,592.51. Ambulance, last year, the budget for 2022 was $175,000. Year to date, $175,000, and the budget for 2023 is $185,000. Fire department. 2022 budget, $159,687.79. Year to date, spent $129,915.01, and the budget for 2023 is $192,719.79. Building inspector, 2022 budget was $3,733.50. Year to date is $0. And the 2023 budget is $12,268. And emergency management, 2022 budget was $103,864.95. 2022 year to date, $102,359.94. And the budget for 2023 is $98,095.38.
For mechanic, the 2022 budget is $186,114.50. Year to date expended $109,642.37. And then the budget for 23 is $195,199. Highway for the road agent, the budget was 79,286.68, actual spent 49,379.93. And for 23, it will be 85,197. For the next highway category, it will be 512, excuse me, for 22, it was 512,241.94. Actual was 500,133.86. And then the budget for 23 is 598,268.57. Also under highway, like material. It would be for 22, $307,001. Actual spent $70,586.94. And budget for next year, $362,002. For bridges, there's just $1 that was placed in there as a placeholder for 22. Amount spent was 4,600. Again, next year, just $1 to keep that line open. For street lighting, 14,500 for 22. Actual spent 14,491.86. And budgeted for next year, 25,000.
For transfer station, 22 budget was $224,069.29. Actual spent was $240,398.52. And the budget for next year is $242,609.85. Health administration, budget for 22 was $4. We spent $96.38. The budget for next year is $26.93.25. Welfare, the budget was $77,072. Actual spent was $42,165.58. And the budget for next year is $71,637.11. What's that?
I think he's in 637.
Well, I got a spot on there, sorry.
Oh.
So it was incorrect. What is it? 57?
57.
711.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, recreation, 2022, 18,435. Year-to-date expended, 6,728.14. Budget for 2023, 7,508. Library, 2022 budget, 182,286. Year-to-date, 166,036. 2023, 192,819.22. Other recreation, $1,000 budgeted, 2022. Year-to-date expended, $1,000. 2023 budget, $1,000. Patriotic, 5,500 budgeted. Nothing expended. And 500 planned for 2023. Conservation fund expenses. $1, I guess to keep it open, no expenditure. And $1 budgeted for 2023.
All right, capital outlay and equipment. You come on that one. What do you know? Somebody else got capital outlay?
Is that 10?
I'll read it. Capital outlay. There's no numbers, bottom line numbers.
You see that? Or was I just daydreaming?
What?
Cindy went after Sadie.
No, Steve did his. and then
Oh, okay.
Cindy's.
Daydreaming.
Yeah.
After this.
There's no bottom line numbers there.
536, 596.
596, it includes the bridges and other stuff.
Yeah, it's not on this page, is it? Or is it on the other side?
It's,
It's before subtotal.
it's about halfway down the page 6.
Are you looking for it?
4711.
Oh, there it is. Right under conservation budget
There's
expenses.
two sections and then it's 5.
4711. I got it. Yeah. Debt service.
Yeah.
Dollar in, nothing spent, still got $1. So it totals 3. And then there was nothing spent, and we put 3 back in capital outlay equipment. The bottom line number was $5. I think that was just kept open. They put $7,717 in, 40,000 next year. Then we jump down to, no, it's not on here, so. No, it's on the other one. It's not on this one, it's on 4901, 4902.9. No, I think we're at the end.
Water.
What's that?
Sewer and water, no.
Sewer, yeah, water and sewer.
Okay,
Yep, just the water and sewer, Mike.
the budget in 2022 for the sewer department was $102,179.15. Year to date was $89,989.73, and the 2023 budget is $108,983.83. For the water department, the budget in 2022 was $123,398.13, and year to date was $190,000, $190,029.21, and the 2022 budget for that is $139,202.83. Combined for the water and sewer is $248,186.66. And just one comment that should be understood, that's a revenue neutral department because of using not really a factor in that.
Okay. What's that, Ellie? Yes,
Yes.
go ahead. You're are on default budget revenues.
Yeah, last year, it would be the same as the column.
Yeah.
Your leftmost column, the 2022 budget, they should be the same. If you want, you got an administrator to have copies, because as far as I know, the selectmen find that already. The DRA form, I'm sure it's called. So, yeah. Can I do revenue first?
You can do anything you want.
Everybody gets what they go up there now.
Okay, just speak up. So if somebody can't hear, just say so. Raise your hand and I'll turn up the volume for you. Okay, don't turn away from us. Turn to us, please. Okay, please do.
I'm not gonna go through everyone, but I just think that's the high point. This is actually from the select board, and it will be on the MS 737 when that's completed. So for 2023, we have a total estimate, including property taxes of $5,053,988.13. And so the big changes are reductions in current use. Food meals tax. No more COVID emergency funds. Slight changes in fire department and recycling revenues from the other towns, Orange, principally, I guess it is Dorchester. And then transfer from the trustees and trust funds, I'm not sure all what goes in there, but that would probably be capital reserves and probably the cemetery. It's been
idea, we have any other questions about that. And then, the 405,000 coming out of unassigned fund balance. And I still that's in the warrant article, is that correct, Ned? Is the 405,000 from unassigned, is that going to be, is that the warrant article?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I figured. Okay? So does anybody have questions on the revenue? Okay. So, so let's turn to, the warrant article, we can cover the all. Well, I do that. The theory of the fine. Okay, here we go. All right, so we have multiple pages, there's Article 2, although these will probably be right numbers, but right, John? So the planning board has articles.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers are gonna be. We're adding 3.
Yeah, but planning board will articles come first, right?
They don't have to, if they're zoning, yes, if they're not zoning, no,
But they're not going.
they're not zoning.
Oh, okay. But usually the general fund is the first one out to the left office. Okay, so and I'm not gonna read the whole thing either, I don't want to be here all night. But the big thing is the proposed operating budget is $4,636,050.79. That should be on the total on the spreadsheet.
All right, I have a question.
On the budget, it's got 51. It's got 4,636,51.79, and it's 50 in the article. I don't know, it's $1, but
I know what it is.
it should be.
But that's what worked out a dollar for just simply the payment.
And I don't know.
I think I hate to mess up things for $1, but.
No, I don't know, but sometimes I'm just asking, which it should be maybe, it should be consistent, or somebody gonna, I don't care, it's $1, but. I'm gonna tell you that one.
Same mention that $1 was left out of the principal, spreadsheet. And it was never addressed. We didn't bring it back up, and neither did the town administrator. So I'm going for the default file here.
Well, and the default number, that doesn't match either.
Yes, that's why there's a question mark next to it.
197, yeah, 201, yeah. Again, how does it have to be legally? So,
Whatever the DRA says.
Yeah, essentially always correct, whatever DRA says. It should be the. It should be. 4 million, it should be the one in print,
one in print.
in print, in
Okay.
text.
Okay, fine, I don't care.
We use someone in the DRA.
Okay.
So.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the budget scale, then we adopt the cost, and that's the 4,301,197.
4,401,197,
There you go.
4,301,197.
So we don't.
Go by what the DRA says for our default budget.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't follow our policy. They don't have to read to see that, do they?
Yes, yeah, yes, they do, but they take out, I'll say discretionary or one-time spending items. Out of,
So I thought they went by the MS-737, I didn't know that we considered a separate spreadsheet.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just reading what's on there, so. Don't think about it there. So, any more questions about that? All right, so the selectmen recommend that 3-0, and the budget committee recommended it 7-2. Okay, Article 3, that's the water and sewer budget, which is a separate fund. And the total, going into both water and sewer is $248,186.66. debt broken down is $139,202.82 for water. $108,983.83 for sewer. And the selectmen recommend this 2-to-1, and the budget committee recommends 8-to-1. Okay, everybody, no questions? Okay, I don't mind if you want to interrupt me, so you can go ahead. Let me finish it out of here. Next is Article 4, this is improvement to the water company. And it looks like the total is $2,100,000. And is identified by separate projects, various improvements and upgrades. Replacing water line, $230,000. The water tank on Green Road, $440,000. Improving pressures in Carson Town for $170,000. Replacing cast iron line from William Steel to Highland Avenue of $280,000. And letter joint from School Street to Depot Street for $380,000. And this is supposed to be paid through user fees. And so the selectmen recommend 3-0, and the budget committee recommends 8-to-1.
Go ahead, Ellie.
Article 5 is to buy a police cruiser to replace the 2015 Ford Explorer. Or one of them, I think they're all Explorers, but, for $45,000. And to do that, the proposal is to take that $45,000 from the existing police cruiser capital reserve fund. The selectmen recommend 3-0, and the budget committee recommends 6-3. Okay, no questions on that? All right, number 6, a replacement to the gas station. This is $88,740, to replace the 2012 John Deere 410 backhoe. It does not just point the fact, we discussed this a lot last night, it doesn't say necessarily that it'll be replaced with a backhoe, but it's a similar piece of equipment to do a similar job. So there's no specificity on exactly what it would be. And so this is supposed to come out of the highway equipment capital reserve fund that already exists. And the selectmen recommend this 3-0, and the budget committee recommends 5 yes, 3 no, and 1 abstention. So that's a recommend. Okay, Article 7, replacement for the 1975 International Bulldozer, for $26,056. This also is supposed to come out of the highway equipment capital reserve fund, which probably will get. And that, and not recommend by the select board. We know and no yes. The budget committee does not recommend 1 yes, 7 no, 1 abstention. Okay, Article 8, replacement for the skid steer loader that's being used in the transfer station. This is in the amount of $24,216 to replace the 1994 New Holland skid loader. This money is supposed to come out of the special revenue account for the transfer station, and that's where that money is to come from. It's not really a capital reserve, but it's used similarly. Article 9, this is for a trailer.
Did you want to give the numbers on that?
Sorry, let's do that. Okay, so back on the sheet here. The board of selectmen do not recommend 3 no, no yes. 0 yes, as you say. The budget committee does not recommend 6 no, 2 yeses, and 1 abstention. All right, So let's go, and so go back to Article 9. The trailer for the recently acquired UTV. This is for $25,000. And this looks like this is gonna come right out of the general fund. I don't see any other, sources, for that. The selectmen do not recommend, no, 2, yes, 1. The budget committee does not recommend, 4 no, 3 yes, 3 abstentions. Okay, Article 10. Doesn't put money back in to the police cruiser capital reserve in the amount of $37,000. It doesn't establish fund and the voters are the agents to expend. So you take money out of that, the voters have to vote it out. And we're probably doing that. And so the unanimous vote, recommend yes. And legislative non-yes, and no.
What's that?
There's been a request to make a change to that one to increase the budget in that article to appropriate 45,000,
Instead of 37.
then 37,000.
Everybody follow that? We bumped that number up from 37 to 45.
So is that the question that you do that?
They write the article.
Just a vote, no motion necessary.
What?
Say it again.
Just a vote, no motion is necessary.
Oh, okay. And it's not on, written on here, so I have nothing in writing to verify that, so.
And then we'll have,
If the select board would like to vote on it, then we can have the.
then the budget committee can vote on it.
Vote on it.
All right,
So the select board all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so that's 3.
all right, now the budget committee can vote on that. We bumped the number up from 37,000, Article 10 to 45,000. We're going to change maybe, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? All right, Ellie had her hand up, just so everybody knows. I want to clear that. Yeah, okay, Karen. All right, wait, Ellie, Karen.
From the unassigned fund balance, it's gonna have enough for 45,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, well,
Well, I know there's enough in the surplus, but once you put it into the fund for the cruiser, will there be $45,000 in there? I remember going through those figures last night.
Yeah, and that's why we went from the 37, because 37,000 to the 45,000, because the 37 was not gonna be quite enough. We'd have to pull approximately $3,000
Oh,
from the
this
general
stuff
fund.
was I got it.
Yeah.
I'm
All
sorry.
right, you follow?
Yeah, I do.
They all meet in the middle.
Yeah, I get it.
Ellie.
Well, I don't know if that matters, because Dennis isn't here and he wasn't here last night, so that won't matter. will it?
No,
No,
the vote is the vote, as long as we've got a quorum. All right. So that changes, the bottom, the selectmen voted 3 yes. What was the what were their numbers again, Roger?
On 10?
it was 3,
Yeah.
3-0 and
That wasn't
9-0.
9-0. Oh, there were only minutes and Dennis, right? So it's 9-0, so it was the same. Okay, yeah, right, all right,
Correct.
all right, let's move on.
Hang on, Ellie, could you come forward? We have a request from the chat line that says they can't hear you very well.
Well, you could sit right up here, Ellen.
You can-
I can't sit anywhere.
Okay, stand up here. Ellen.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. Yep, facing them. I can hear
Why
you
don't
fine. You can hear. All right, this.
I'll talk into the microphone, but
Okay, go ahead.
I don't need to be on camera. I'm not required to. So, well, I'm not. Next time I have to wear my funny glasses.
Article 11.
I can't read with my glasses on. Article 11, this is put money into the capital reserve for the fire truck. This is 85,000, and this is more than it has been in the past. But the CIP thought it necessary because of the increases in prices of trucks, and they last a long time, but if we put away enough every year, we'll have the money. And we won't need to borrow as much when it comes time to replace. So both of these were unanimous, 3 selectmen and 9 budget committee members. So no changes to that, right, Nan?
No changes.
Okay, good. Article 12, this is money to go into the water and sewer non-lapsing operating account. $14,000. This is an existing account, and that is supposed to come from the unreserved fund balance, 14,000. The selectmen recommend 3-0. Budget committee recommends 8-1. Article 13 is to put money into the highway equipment capital reserve for $170,000. And this is also supposed to come from unreserved fund balance. And again, this is an account we've had. And as far as I know, I don't remember the numbers, but this was likely a recommendation from the CIP committee to keep us on track so that we don't have to borrow as much. The selectmen recommend 3-0. Budget committee recommends 9-0, so both unanimous. Article 14 is money to go into the transfer station special revenue account of $7,500. And again, this fund, although it's not a capital reserve, it works that way to buy equipment for the transfer station. So this will add to that. And this is 3-0, yes, by the selectmen, 8-1 for the budget committee. Article 15 is to put money into the government buildings capital reserve. Again, we've had this fund for some time. The voters are the agents to expend. So to take money out, you have to have a vote of the people to do that. This is $40,000 to come from unreserved fund balance. Selectmen recommend 3-0. Budget committee recommends 8-1. Article 16. This is money to go into the cap bridge, cap reserve fund for $40,000. Again, this is to replace bridges. This is one account where the select board are the agents to expend, so they can take the money out. And the reason for that is that the state usually gives us a lot of money to replace bridges, but you have to be ready when they're ready to do it. So you got to have the money there waiting for them. So that way you don't have to wait to vote to do it. The selectmen just can go ahead. So this is one rare circumstance where we trust them to do the right thing. So that's 40,000 to come from unreserved fund balance. And that's why in the operating budget, there's only $1 in there, because the money either comes out of the reserve or it comes from the state. Article 17.
Did you read the numbers?
Oh, sorry, I missed them again. This is another unanimous vote. Selectmen, yes. 3-0. Budget committee, 9-0, both unanimous. Article 17. This is to establish a new emergency medical service capital reserve fund. To replace vehicles and equipment. $50,000 to go there. Although Cindy, you're going to have to help us on this one.
I have a correction, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
for that one. I recommend striking the trustees of trust funds and adding the voters of Canaan to follow the general policy of the town.
I think technically it's supposed to say legislative body, but
That's what it
as long
says.
as everybody knows,
Yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah.
I've checked prior years,
Yeah,
most of them say the voters of Canaan.
yeah. Well, like I said, Cindy, if I'm correct, it has to be either the voters or the select board, right? It can't be you. It can't be you.
I've never seen one where the trustee.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay.
That's what I thought. I'm glad she's here.
Now, do we need to have the selectmen's nod on this and
Yeah.
budget
Yeah,
committee's
yeah.
nod on this?
Yeah, oh,
All
yeah.
right, so the selectmen, go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so 3.
All right. All in favor, on the budget committee? Please raise your hand.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just double check and say no with abstention, just to
And
make sure.
yeah,
Okay,
and noes, abstentions.
just for a point for the public.
Point of
that's here.
order, yes.
No, for the, yeah,
Oh,
that last night, that's a change in voting from last night. Last night
Right.
it was 3-6,
Right,
so it's been a change in voting. So
right,
just so
so,
people understand,
so it's 9-0,
if they see the various meeting videos, there was a
Right.
change in voting there.
right,
well, that was the vote on changing the wording.
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 that was
That
why,
was not the vote on the
oh,
article.
oh,
That was just the wording.
oh, okay,
Everybody okay with that?
That's not what I was.
me
Yeah.
either.
All right, we'll take another vote.
Yeah, we don't have the authority to, yeah, you're right, we don't.
They changed the wording.
They
So now the
did.
wording has changed. We don't care.
And we still have
Maybe
to
I should
vote.
have chosen better words. Anyways,
And we still have to vote,
so now we have to vote on the article itself,
whether we recommend or not.
recommend it as
Okay,
written, rewritten.
all right,
Striking a few words.
okay,
Budget committee voting yes. Noes. One no, abstentions. One no, 8 yes.
okay, so 8-1.
Oh.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
So is that for the?
approval of the article,
And what were the numbers?
8-1. Approving it. And that was a conversation last night, that's why the numbers are different. We
okay,
didn't like the wording,
yeah, it was illegal.
well, whatever, but we didn't like it. Okay, we can move
All
on.
right, so that's it for the select board's, articles.
Yeah.
So they won't be revising, we can't revise anything else.
No, the
because these are-
petition articles,
Oh,
we have
I'm
nothing to
sorry,
do.
there's 2 more, but they don't have money in them, so it won't count. All right, so the rest of them are all petitioned articles. Article 18 is Grafton County Senior Citizens. $13,500 to support them. For various services, you can use all the details. And that comes from the general fund. The Board of Selectmen do not recommend 2-1, 2 noes, 1 yes. Budget Committee, recommends 5 yes, 3 no, 1 abstention. Article 19 is West Central Behavioral Health. For $3,920. And again, they itemize out the different services that they provide. This will also come from general fund. The Board of Selectmen do not recommend 3-0. The Budget Committee does recommend 4 yes, 3 no, 2 abstentions. Article 20. Weiss. $2,100 for their support services. The Board of Selectmen do not recommend 2 no, 1 yes. Budget Committee recommends 4 yes, 3 no, 2 abstentions. Article 21. Public Health Council, $2,846 for their services. The Selectmen do not recommend 3-0. Budget Committee does not recommend 4 no, 3 yes, 2 abstentions. Tri-County Cap. This is the one I had, Roger and I had an issue on the vote, so we're gonna have to ask Nate and Mike about that. Just let me go through the amounts first. This is $7,588 to go to Tri-County Community Action. The Board of Selectmen do not recommend 2 no, 1 yes. Both my records and Ned's records say that the Budget Committee recommends 4 yes, 3 no, 2 abstentions, but our minutes are off a little bit.
My records agree with you. I just.
That's okay, that's what I was hoping.
Okay, so it's correct. Yeah,
Okay,
as it is.
okay, so it's fine the way it is. Okay, so we'll just deal with the minutes later. They don't need to worry about that. So that's correct. The Budget Committee recommends 4 yes, 3 no, 2 abstentions. Okay, Article 23, Advanced Transit, $9,840 for their services. I should have brought some water with me.
Would you like some?
No, that's okay. I'll make it. The Board of Selectmen do not recommend, 2 no, 1 yes.
I also have lozenges.
No, I don't want to take my mask off, so,
Okay.
the Budget Committee recommends 4 yes, 3 no, 2 abstentions, and again, these all come from the general fund. Article 24, the Mascoma Community Health Center, $10,000 for their services. Board of Selectmen do not recommend, 3-0. Budget Committee recommends 5 yes, 3 no, 1 abstention. Article 25, the visiting, I assume that means visiting nurses.
It is, yes.
It used to be, I couldn't remember if it's B standard for Vermont and New Hampshire. Anyway, so this is for $9,700 to support their services. Again, coming from the general fund. The selectmen do not recommend, 2 no, 1 yes. The Budget Committee recommends 5 yes, 3 no, 1 abstention. Article 26, this is $2,000. This is a new outfit, the Bridge House Homeless. They're asking for $2,000. That would also come from the general fund if it's approved. The selectmen do not recommend, 3-0. The Budget Committee does not recommend, 4 no, 1 yes, 4 abstentions. And the last 2 articles do not have an appropriation, so the Budget Committee doesn't vote on those. And I don't think we need to worry about disclosing them here. That will
No.
happen at the deliberative session.
Yeah.
So we don't need to read anything.
All
All right, so any questions?
Sit down, Ellie. Take it
Okay.
easy, or rest. I had somebody have a hand up?
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah, Michael, go ahead.
On the issue of creation of capital reserve for the closure of the center. Then I would recommend that you verify that you can both create and fund in the same year. And I don't know, you have to check it, I'm sure it'd be all right, but I do have a question. In the operating budget for the ambulance service, $70,000 for capital reserve. But does that mean that next year's capital reserve is gonna be $120,000 for the ambulance service? And so probably CIP ought to be at least aware of that.
No, I don't think they're gonna get this thing is going on. Oh, no. Yeah, well, it's not here.
Dan,
Oh, that's right, okay, yeah.
Ned,
In regard to the into the setting up the fund like that and funding it in 1 year. That's straight off the DRA website. It's their verbiage with our words added in.
Okay, then what about the 70 plus the 50?
I don't know about that. I can check on that.
Well,
But
what happens
we'll-
if it fails? If it fails,
We'll have to check with the CIP committee.
You need to talk to the attorney. But we have to think to the dump truck. If that fails, can you find it out if the property?
Well, the other option is if it passes, does that mean the ambulance service can use the 70,000 any way it wants?
Good question.
They get 42,000 into their reserve fund. That's this tax year. It's in the budget for the 2,000.
In this budget, yeah, the warrant article,
They get the 42,000.
they got 42,000 last year, so
And they want
they're.
120,000 this year.
Well-
Right. That would be the effect, yeah. So they need to replace 1 ambulance in 24. Which is gonna be 193,000. So that's why it was increased, why they need more. And I think what happened is that John Hennessy provided us with better updated numbers on what the vehicles actually cost, and it was a little bit of a shock to us. and so, and that's why we built in that inflation factor going forward.
And why why there's money in the general fund as well as
I think the money in the general fund is to support operations. Of the
It's just,
department, right? And then
it's capital related items.
I don't know about creating the fund. I don't think that was.
Okay, Mike, go ahead, then.
Yeah, there was money, I don't have the number in front of me, but there was money generated over the last 2 years. It's held in that non-lab fee account. The coverage, I believe it was something about $70,000 or $80,000. So that was already available. Plus what was appropriated for this year out of the general fund, it's in there. And that amount was 42,000. Okay, so say it's 60 plus 42, so it's 102,000 in the account right now. And then over and above that would be the 50 that's in there, 70 that's in there, that's in the proposed budget for next year. Okay, so it's 172,000, and you said how much for the new ambulance in 2 years?
Next year in 24, they're estimating 193,000.
Well, we shouldn't be too far off.
So again, that's a huge increase on the capital reserve for the ambulance service. It's almost,
I think that's because the CIP was made aware that.
those numbers actually were put in after the CIP was aware and after the CIP approved it. It was increased up from 42 to that number in order to make it work. So yes, you're correct.
Right.
Both of you are correct. That the CIP reviewed how much is going into the ambulance.
Yeah.
And everybody agreed at the time, 4 months ago, that that was going to be sufficient to get you, because it gets you the way you needed to be, because it'd be 70 next year, 70 the following year, plus 60, plus 40. And that was going to be sufficient money. My only objection, and it is an objection, isn't just a question. My objection is, why are we going to put in another 50?
Was it,
It had never went through the CIP committee. You got the CIP committee report, it's big printed. It already was put, take a look, but it's not in there, I guarantee you.
well, without having it in front of me, I would. And again, I may not be 100%, but I believe that it was because that would have to be done in order to keep the CIP funding on track after that big expenditure.
I understand you think that, but it also that's why we raised it from 42 to 70. To keep it on track.
Was it to keep it on track or to be able to make the purchase? And then to have that extra money was to keep it on track going further,
Well,
right?
I would ask you to go back on the spreadsheets and show 70 going forward. It actually gets indexed on that one, so it gets indexed by inflation.
You had your hand up.
Yeah, I had a question on, why in the operating budget, there's a line item in there for contracted ambulance service for $175,000. For a budget and expenditure and a rating of 10,000. So,
I think it's because it's a separate fund, it's like the library.
and then you have a complete budget for CEMS on the back of it. It also has a,
It's separate. It's like the library. That's like the detail. Right, Mike?
So
That's like the detail, because it's a separate fund, like the library. We have one line
Yeah.
for library, and then.
it's also like water and sewer. It's a separate account.
It's not counted twice.
It's not counted twice. It's a separate account. It goes in the revenue statement. And that's actually in the handout you've got on the back of the revenue page. It goes from pound 202,000. And the pounds 202,000 includes 175,000 for the town of Canaan. So the town of Canaan's tax base is not responsible for the proposed ambulance service budget of $400,000. It is only responsible for 175,000. That's all that's in the general fund, that's all we're taking. And the rest will have to come from fee for services, insurance, and other accounts.
Yeah.
If we're gonna put it all in the general fund, if they don't raise money, and if they don't give insurance, we have to pay the whole thing.
All right, Ellie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just a couple of points. I was just wondering if some of the reasons are the increase, because this can go to like a private fee for service.
I think you're gonna have to come up here, because I don't think, sorry.
Okay. I can talk loud as you
We've got
want.
one on Zoom, Ned.
Yes, one on Zoom.
Yeah, I know who it is. So, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I just thought from what I gathered in attending meetings was that I thought that they had beefed up the number of runs that they were doing because they were doing more private transport. So I was just wondering if that was part of the reason, if they were doing more private transport for fees, if that meant that the ambulances would have more miles and therefore not last as long.
That program's supposed
Was
to
it-
pay for itself.
Yeah, I know, but you're still gonna need to buy the ambulance. Somebody's gonna have to buy the ambulance, right?
They already have the ambulance.
Okay.
And it has to pay for itself.
But it still has to be in the CIP though, right?
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, well, and this is another good point, because I have a lot of people that don't support the CIP, and if I remember correct, John would know this. Isn't part of the reason we have a CIP, is it so, because some grants that we get from things like the state
Mike,
require us,
Could you not have that conversation in the
no,
back?
am I right, John?
Wow,
That we need a CIP in order to get some of the grant money?
I don't know that, there's other reasons, there's other state laws why you're gonna have a CIP.
That's what I thought, and that's why it's under the purview of the planning board.
Yeah.
Right. So please support the CIP. And I thought, so I was just wondering if the selectmen have issues with this, can they take it out of the warrant? Because it's their article.
Take the 70,000 out
No,
of
just
it.
take the article out of the warrant.
Uh,
It's not a petition article.
Yeah, probably so, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Well, it sounded like to me like they did. Okay, all right.
Now it's-
Oh, okay, all right. Well, no, I thought that it wasn't so much the article itself, it was the amount.
No, we didn't.
Because it was in two places in the, okay, all
All
right.
right,
That's
let's
good.
move on.
Okay, all right.
Yes, Karen.
Their report. It says, there's a fire balance, the cap to the fund, to cap, from capital reserve 50,000, from general fund 0. What the CPI.
Oh, there's CPI, the CPI report.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me.
so it doesn't reflect.
Michael, go ahead.
70, and, you know,
Okay, so this is the ambulance service is like water source, a separate account. For the last 3 years, there's been a line in the ambulance budget for capital reserves. It was hotly discussed when we took over the service. We made sure we funded it for the first 2 years of operation. We funded at the rate of originally $40,000, and then it went up to $50,000. And this year, when John Hennessy came in, he originally asked for $350,000. But he brought it back down to the $193,000 level. Okay, everybody all set on that? But the first 2 years of operation, money was left in the non-lapsing ambulance service budget towards that ambulance. And we checked it in the last 2 years, about every 3 months, to make sure that yes, there was a surplus in that account equal to what was supposed to be there for the capital reserves, or that it's not a capital reserve per se, but it's for a balance in the account to fund the ambulance. So that amount, I believe, was about $80,000 that was already in the budget before the end of 2022. What was also budgeted, as you can see in the detailed budget that distributed. On the last page, it said it was 42,000 that was supposed to be in that budget to be added to that 80, which would get you to 122,000. On the far right hand side, where it says 42, it says 70. So again, that budget, which you approved, everybody's approved that recommendation for that budget. The Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee have approved the 485 for the ambulance service. That includes another 70,000. So now you're up around almost the full amount that you need for the ambulance. That's between everything through 2022, plus what's in there for next year. And the question I'm raising is, if you put another $50,000, and keep in mind that that 70 only goes up after next year, because that is an indexed account with the CIP committee put into place. So it will continue to rise by the inflationary factor set by the CIP committee.
If they don't change it.
If, whatever you're gonna do, you can do. I mean,
It's-
that's clearly up to you folks. All I'm telling you is that right now, you have funded that ambulance for purchase. So when you put another 50 in, we means a couple of things. It goes directly into the operating account. Okay, so it just adds another $50,000 in cash that the ambulance can spend. It is not obligated to go anyplace else except for that account. So I mean, the ambulance service can spend that 50,000 in a number of different ways. I'm just questioning if that's the intent, especially when you're based on the budget you've approved tonight. I believe your taxes are going up by 11% or 12%. So I don't know if you really want to do that.
So I don't, but if it's put into a capital reserve account. it
It's
can't-
not a capital, oh, okay, you create a capital.
But that's what the warrant article is to create a capital reserve, so
Okay,
that's
so-
what it has to be with one title of warrant article.
So if in fact the budget has 70 for an ambulance, okay? And you're putting 50 over here in the capital reserve. And the ambulance is 195,000. They don't, and they got 195,000 over here. They don't have to spend anything. Because they got 50 over here. So we got another 50 that they can spend for the health. Not for the health, but for some other function other than for purchasing the ambulance.
So I guess we should ask the select board then why, what their intent was when they drafted this article. And that would answer the question that, they drafted the article.
I drafted the article for the select board and I drafted it based on what was in the CIP. CIP said 50,000 should go into the capital reserve for ambulance. That's why I created it and that's why it was there. And that's why it's in here also.
Ally had her hand up,
And the
Mike.
money is, that's there is designated for an ambulance as well, Mike.
Take money out, we can't buy the ambulance. So we start with the money in the capital reserve, because you guys just changed it from trustees to trust fund to the voters.
Right.
So the voters have to take that out. It's not autocratic.
Fine, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, two separate issues, Ellie's right. Second issue that Stephen had raised. Isn't right. The fact is, anything that's in that budget can be moved around because it's an operating fund budget. So
But we put it there with the intent, with the agreement from the
I'm just saying.
EMS that it was gonna be used for an
Prevent that from being used for another purpose.
It can be, politically, it would be suicide. But
Yes.
So doesn't it say right here further to name the trustees of the trust funds as agents to expend?
You can't do that.
Yeah.
We just-
we should change that.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
All I'm saying is it's a tough financial year. I really don't know that you want to spend $50,000 and it's already funded.
I don't.
If
see
you
where
want
it's
to take that
funded
there,
like
that's
that.
fine, but that means that there's $50,000. The only way the board of selectmen have any power over that, to be honest with you. is if you arbitrarily after town meeting reduce the appropriation to the ambulance service by 50%. What you can do, you can move it out of one account, put it into another. account. You may need it in that account, because I did ask Ned before tonight's meeting, and then if I could get a copy from Laura for the revenue. And the revenue you had in did not meet the projections for private transit. It said it was only in there for
Well,
private.
can I just make sure I understand what you're saying? So you're saying there's a warrant article to create the, or to put 50,000 into that capital reserve fund, which is what's reflected in the CIP right here. But then you're saying, wait, there's also this line for 70. Is that so?
What you're reading off of the report that is Claude here, by any chance?
No, it's not here.
Okay, so what you're reading off of that report is inaccurate for the ambulance service. And the only way I can prove it,
Which report?
I understand, the narrative report,
I don't have the narrative report. I have my actual CIP budget report from November 9th.
70,000. This 70,000 only went into the operating budget based on what the CIP told me to do.
So I had, there was 92,000 In 23, that was its beginning balance, we're gonna put in 50, which leaves us with 142.
Yeah.
We'll put in 55 next year. Which brings us up to just barely enough to buy the ambulance at 193, it'll leave us with $3,600.
Okay,
That's
in,
what I-
in this budget here, which is the budget that was created out of what happened at the CIP committee. If we didn't videotape that, did we? But the long and short, of it, I can tell you that somewhere in my files. Which ironically I still have, there is a number that was approved by the CIP committee to raise that to 170 to give it a person. And that, not 170, to 70, I'm sorry, to 70. The number that's in this document hasn't changed since October. Okay, the budget that you're adopting is the same budget. So all I'm telling you is that that's 70,000, and if Ned wants to dispute it, that's fine, he can. But I know that that $70,000 figure went in there from the CIP committee meetings back in September and October.
Well, November 9th, I have that it was 50,000.
So here's
That's
the
in September and October. And you can show it to me on this one.
I looked at
That's
the one.
the one from.
Hugh had his hand up, Ellie. Hugh, go ahead.
So. Place the side car.
Yes, okay, thank you.
I'm probably wrong, but I may think
That's the second full staff.
This is the non-mobile, you got the-
Right, because they're not buying it until 24. So, oh, no, nothing is coming in general.
I see you, Ellie. I got it. Yeah. I'm gonna let you talk and then you, once the.
I don't think we've got one yet.
Like, corrected that somebody shouldn't be in there, but I disagree with the CIP committee. Wholeheartedly. Statement. I don't have anything, and I have all of my notes.
This is definitely down right.
It's in their budget. Not in the warrant article.
Okay, Hugh. Go ahead.
Right. So in hearing all this, I think there's just misconnection of what funds that, what actual account that fund's going in, how it's supposed to set up, because I heard the transfers. But my understanding is when it ambulance got taken over, it was basically a revolving fund in there. So any revenue that the ambulance made came back into that fund and didn't go back into the general fund. And I believe that's where part of this stuff is going for. They have their line item for that capital reserve,
I remember that.
just not properly worded in their line budget of that. And my understanding is when that was set up, that was not just ambulance replacement, that was projected out for when those transfers got up and running and on their feet, the projection, and that even though we usually don't make any real money on 911 calls, that went in to help support the total operation from payroll, fuel, the wear and tear, the vehicle replacement. I may be wrong, but I think that may be some of the confusion of where just misterminology of that fund. And like Mike saying, that money is in there. But we don't have that information that's in that fund right now.
Oh,
I may be totally wrong, but hopefully it'll spark some of those comments.
All right, Ellie,
Yeah.
thank you.
There's always just the changing things that Elizabeth was saying. If you can still hear me. Anything can be changed. You can remove or decrease or increase anything that's already in there. You just can't add anything new. So that's an option. And the other thing is you gotta remember, if the budget doesn't pass, then what do? How much goes into that fund? Is that in the default? Was there money going in there last year from the last year's? It would be whatever it was last year, right?
Can't go with by default.
Oh, it can't?
No.
Oh, okay, all right. So it could be zero.
The default budget, yeah, not the default.
Okay.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
Just as a clarification, you can amend a warrant article on on the 50,000 going into the unsigned, into the capital reserve. You can do that. You can't legally amend a specific line in the operating account.
Yeah.
It has no effect. It's illegal. The board can do whatever it wants to do. Ironically, I'm in favor of the capital reserve account for the ambulance service. Fully in favor. The problem is, I'm not in favor of putting into a single fiscal year, $120,000 after we've already put in $134,000.
And I believe that's a mistake, because as far back as October sixth, that 70,000 is in there, and the CIP, the latest meeting that we had in November, we have 50,000. So it really should just be that 50, that 70 is an error. I don't know how it got into the general fund, that's not my piece of that. But all of my notes stating further back, we did not ask for 70.
It should be 50 instead of 70.
It should be just 50 flat, and in that warrant article that Ned drafted.
Right, that's
16
what
or
it said.
17 or whatever it is, and that
Yeah.
70 should not.
Well, that's what it says. It said 50,000 in the article.
But your operating budget has seven line items last year.
Yeah. Okay.
And the operating budget was far before.
Sal,
I-
hi, go ahead.
Okay, I have a question. Article 17 is establishing an emergency medical service reserve fund. Is that
Okay,
correct? Establishing a new one?
yes,
Correct.
Okay. And so the one that's in the CIP spreadsheet that says there was a fire balance of $92,000, what fund is that? It's not.
That's the ambulance fund.
That's the operating account, it's a non-operating account, we're supposed to do for ambulance.
It's not a reserve fund.
That's correct. But it acts as a reason.
I said, I get that, I get you. Okay, so what you're doing is you're creating a new one, and what are you doing with the 92,000 that's in this bucket here?
That's gonna go, it should be going for the replacement of the ambulance.
Right, but would that go into this fund then?
could you move it?
No.
Established?
Well, you. oh,
Ultimately, but the voters have to approve to move it into that capital reserve account once it's created. They have to fund it.
You're gonna get a legal opinion of who controls that fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
I mean, the easiest way to clean it up is create the capital reserve. Like I said, I'm in favor of the capital reserve. So create the capital reserve, 50,000 goes in. Somebody's gonna buy an ambulance and they're gonna take the money supposedly out of the balance that's in the ambulance account. So you're gonna write a check from the town out of the capital reserve fund for 50,000 and another check, or roll it into one check and just allocate the check. And the rest of it's gonna come out of the operating fund for the ambulance service, so that takes care of the problem. All I'm concerned about doing is setting a precedent going forward. I hope next year in the proposed budget that there won't be another $70,000 at all in that budget for that purpose. That it ought to be just in the capital reserve funding. Because right now, it's a lot of funding in a single year. And the voters can't do anything about the voting session. There's no legal way to do anything about it, other than defeat the capital reserve, and that defeats the whole purpose of having a capital reserve. You ought to have the capital reserve. I'm fine with it. But what I am not happy about particularly is to keep going up on support for the service and then still have 70,000 that's unaccounted for in that budget. That's all I'm asking.
Scott,
If the 70,000 is in the budget, right? The voters can amend the budget.
No, they
Well,
can't.
yes, it's
Not
fine.
for a while.
Sure they can. The voters can.
When does that change, Joey? Because in the line, there is that line.
all right, let's not get too excited here.
Okay, I just
Sure.
clarify what you're saying. That's absolutely correct. So the total budget is whatever it is, 4 million, or whatever the number is, 4,636,000. The voters can make a motion to reduce that budget by 70,000. They can do that. The problem is, half of that money is coming from the efforts of the ambulance service doing private transport. So it really doesn't do the job. It gets more confusing rather than less confusing. Look, I'm happy, and I'm seeing to be the only one who's concerned about it. I'm happy to ignore the whole issue as long as somebody looks at the issue next year and make sure that they're not double funding next year. And understand that you got 70,000 in that budget for the ambulance service. That really ought not to be there and in a capital reserve.
Understood.
So it's move that 70,000 into the
Yeah,
reserve fund.
no other source can go in except for the vote. But they can spend it on.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they could put it toward their end.
All right. All right, Ned's got his hand up. Go ahead, Ned.
Voters can also amend the article to $1. You know, or something along those lines, some.
It's better if I shut up then. Well, seriously.
Oh, come on, Mike, you don't want to open that door.
You need to start the precedent of having a capital reserve. fund.
I agree.
And B, putting the money into the capital reserve. My only objection is spending 120 versus 50 or 70. Okay, so what it is, leave it the way it is. Let's be aware of the issue and fix the issue.
Any other questions?
Providing it is an issue that needs to be fixed. I'm not sure we ever got to the established that there actually was.
Ellie, go ahead. All right, we can't hear. And we've got 4 conversations. Go ahead.
That's the goal. That's the plan there. That's the public down.
Okay. Okay, so that's what I wanted to be clear on, because last year's budget says 175,000, but this year says 185. So I guess I don't really understand where the capital cost comes in. Is that extra 10,000 just for general stuff, or is it for something specific?
That's the town's contribution to have an ambulance service, and then the capital reserves are to fund the capital
Right,
expenditure,
okay.
like ambulance.
I'm not voting for it.
All right. Bill, go ahead.
Is there gonna be any clarification to the backhoe warrant article?
Clarification in what sense?
That we're replacing a backhoe, not buying out or something.
Instead of that in a couple different areas. Philip,
It very specifically leaves it wide open by saying,
the purchase.
in our vehicle, and according to the meeting last night, there's talk of buying an excavator.
It says a similar piece of equipment.
Can you define similar?
I can't know.
What board
Gonna change the wording of that language?
I guess.
We discussed it last night.
The idea was a possible mini excavator.
That's not a similar piece of equipment.
That was what was discussed.
So if that's what's discussed, that's what we should be writing in there. We're gonna replace the backhoe with an excavator.
Well, we
Probably
may not.
This is gonna crack a lot of people in half.
Maybe we may not.
Yeah, you know. Me personally. That wording bothers me a whole lot. Either you're gonna replace the backhoe or you're not,
Right.
or you're gonna buy a mini excavator, which is not a backhoe. By any means. Number one, you gotta move it with a trailer every time you move it. It doesn't load a dump truck if the loader goes down. You need to replace the backhoe as a backup for the loader. If it goes down, what are you gonna load your trucks with? Sand and salt, not in a mini excavator. So that's the wording that bothered me. If you buy a mini excavator and then we're stuck with it.
Again, that can be amended with
Well, it's something that needs to be thought about. And if I was, which I am, a voter, and I saw that, I would not support it at all. And I wouldn't support the article as it's written.
The select board can't amend this?
Good. I'll take a vote now.
They'd have to take a vote now. I mean, take that wording out, either replace it or replace it with a used. I don't care, but to me, the backhoe needs to be replaced with another backhoe, whether it's used, a good used one. Or you want to suffer with that one more year and maybe buy another new one next year.
that doesn't make any difference, but the backhoe is needed. And a mini excavator is not gonna load dump trucks.
Dan, you got any comments on that?
My comments were that, if I remember right, there was actually talk of possibly buying a tractor as well, so.
Not gonna hold up, Dan. We've done that
I'm
before.
not saying whether it's gonna hold up or not, Dave, I'm just telling you what.
Yeah, I know, but you know, a tractor in
The,
an industrial situation does not hold up. What's that?
Well, let's go, let Dan finish what he did.
Okay.
so that was, so what my recollection was, is we weren't set on buying any one particular piece of equipment. We were looking at options of repairing this backhoe and keeping the backhoe. Because there's a general consensus, and I'm talking with the road agent, the mechanic, which we haven't had in quite a while, and he is a qualified mechanic. And the Board of Selectmen, as a select board, that this backhoe can be repaired and still be a good functioning operating backhoe.
Was there a price, Dan?
There was not.
A ballpark? I mean, you know, just
Because it
roll the
hasn't
dice.
Hasn't been torn down to see what it needed.
Okay,
But that was where the conversation leaned towards. So then we could replace. There's an option of selling it, and then and if that did happen. Any funds or trade-in funds from that sale would go towards purchase of a similar piece of equipment. Which would lean more towards a backhoe or a tractor of some sort. If it was repaired and kept in-house, then those funds would go towards either a tractor or some sort of a mini excavator equipment. And am I recalling that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the conversation that I remember.
Alright, well, I guess then that flies in the face of this warrant article. This warrant article says we are going to replace. So because you don't replace it and you repair it, does not mean you can go out and buy another piece of equipment. You have to replace whatever you need.
it does say purchase of a replacement.
It's purchase of a replacement. If you're not replacing it, then you can't purchase. So then if there's really a thought that you're gonna replace the back with, then it shouldn't even be on the wall.
Really thought that we're gonna repair it.
Right, if we're gonna really repair, if that's really what you guys are thinking, then we shouldn't even be having a discussion.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I recall in a couple of the last recent meetings is at one time, recent, in not too distant past year, there was an assumption, or it was a belief that there was a substantial amount more money that was gonna be available for the purchase of this piece of equipment. There was supposedly around $150,000 or so. And then come to find out, the actual dollar figure is what we're seeing in front of us. So.
I'm not, you know,
I understand, but just to let you know, like, I'll answer you the best I can.
Right.
And trying to flip back through the files here of our meetings and what's gone on. One of the things that I've heard several times from the road agent, and then we've gone over with the board. Is the fact that that money was said to be there at one point. That's what these purchases were based on. And then, because you can't even buy a new backhoe for $88,000.
No.
Right? So, but you can for about $150.
You can buy a mini excavator for $88,000 out.
Yeah, right, that's what so Wesley, that exactly is it. So we went from thinking we had enough money to purchase a backhoe. To now knowing that we only have enough money to do one of a few different options. So I don't necessarily disagree that the wording states that we're gonna purchase a backhoe or a similar piece of equipment. I own both, and I'll tell you, and so do you guys, a backhoe and an excavator. I guess they both move dirt. That's about where the similarities end. So, but when it comes to thinking you had a certain amount of money, and then all of a sudden within the last few weeks realizing that that's not really there. We're trying to figure out how to get new equipment for town so we can ditch our roads properly. And I think that's where we're going with it. So I'm just trying to give you the most honest answer.
Mike, go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
It seems to me that it was worded the way it was worded to create flexibility, right? Like if you can repair it,
I think
great,
that's the,
and then use the money to buy an excavator.
I think
And if
that's.
you can't repair it, then you put the money
The
to
way it was explained to us was that if the best option was to buy the backhoe, that's what we would do. If it was a better deal to get the other stuff, that's what we would do.
and repair it.
Yeah, and repair the backhoe.
But you can't,
So I think you
but
could.
you can't not replace. The one article says.
No,
replace.
but that's what I'm saying. I think the reason why it said it was similar, and I don't know, I wasn't there. It's fine.
I'll be with you. Just Sal, you had your hand up.
I'm thinking it's worded the way it is to create flexibility, because if you can fix it, great, then take the money and buy the excavator, and if you. Or you buy the backhoe, if you can't fix it.
All right, Sal, go ahead.
That's the. that's
Yeah,
the-
but I think this gentleman's point is pretty clear that, this article is misleading, the way it's stated. I think if you're gonna read, it says replacement for the backup.
I agree.
Should it say replacement options or something? I mean.
Well, I should think,
Well, I don't, I think we either repair the back or we fix it. And once we've shown the people that we can maintain this stuff that we have, then we go and buy something else new. Or we decide that this is enough to buy a good used machine.
But
So
the
if
day
it's a
maybe-
matter of, we need to get something by, then we go out and buy the next best thing, a really good used. machine.
All right, I see you, Monica. Wes, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm just. I guess I'm in the same way. I just want the townspeople to understand what they're doing. Cause there's gonna be a lot of townspeople that they're not gonna understand. They think they're voting for a backhoe. And it may be an excavator. The people in town, some people don't understand. I mean, and quite honestly. I don't know why we need two excavators, a grader, a dozer. We're road maintainers, not road builders. It doesn't make sense.
Well, Monica, you're next.
I thought, I heard last night the backhoe was not replaceable. Is that right? Was it-
I didn't hear that, but it may have been said.
Repairable.
Repairable, you mean? All right, Dan, go ahead.
My understanding of this is, and I've seen it, and I know you've seen it, we drive around here enough. The roads in this town haven't been did properly in over a decade. I mean, they're, right, so hear me out.
I agree with you, but when you
Right,
take
so
a
hear me
grader
out.
and you
No,
just
wait a minute,
blow this out to the edge like they did on Fernwood Farms.
so hear me out for a minute, right? So
Right.
we're not talking about the grader right now, we're talking about the excavator and the backhoe. So the reason we're thinking about purchasing an excavator is so we can ditch our roads properly.
So we're gonna get rid
Backhoe's
of
not
the
a
big one?
ditching, yeah, that's been my vote, yes. It absolutely is. It's too big for what we do. We don't need it.
Why wouldn't we have put that on the thing if we wanted an excavator?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my question, because I don't think we have any intentions to get rid of the big one. I think that we just want a little one, and this is our way of getting. it.
So I will tell you my standpoint as a select board representative. In this town is that piece of equipment is basically worthless to our town crew. It's too big for anything
You're not
we do.
disagreeing, you're not.
No, I-
need to disagree.
I agree, so it's too big to ditch the roads. We bought it because it was a good deal, but a good deal doesn't always mean it's the right purchase. I mean, if you. buy
Well, I
something
think a
cheap,
lot of it
it's
too,
easier.
Dan, when we bought it, we were doing a lot of, like Talbot Hill, major work on the roads. And I think that was giving them more reach out onto the side of the banks and to shape the banks, that did a better job. And I think that was why, if I remember right, Talbot Hill was one of the major discussions.
And it was cheaper because it can't be used every place that a mini excavator can be used. So it was less expensive.
I wouldn't call it less expensive, it's less than normal. We paid money for it. It wasn't given to us.
I guess I got a question.
Sure, go ahead, Wes.
Could you change this? To say. Replace the Volvo excavator 160E, whatever it is. For a mini excavator. Taking whatever money you get from that, put towards the excavator, and I guarantee it won't even cost you $88,000 for that piece of equipment.
without even talking to the manager of the department?
Yeah, we could, the select board has the authority to dispose of equipment.
I'm gonna guess that the guy at the town, the manager at the highway department wants a mini excavator, if I had to guess.
Yes, because
Am I wrong?
it's the most efficient.
I would just see some stipulations inside of it, what it's gonna be.
I just think, I think if you did that, I would have a better, I would feel better voting on it. I can tell you, I'm not voting for that the way that it is. Because it's tricky and it's not, the general public is not gonna understand what that means. They're not gonna know what they're voting.
And normally when they don't understand it, they'll vote no.
Right.
Well, and if they're talking to people that know what they're talking about, we're all, those of us that know what this actually means, they're gonna tell them.
Well,
why don't you just take out the word replace and just say, purchase equipment
But you know,
for road usage such as.
Just
Possibly
that,
this,
the other
that,
thing,
or
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
But, you know, there again, Scott, I'm thinking the people are gonna say you got an excavator. So you're gonna have to either get rid of one to get the other.
You got a room full of guys here that know what they're talking about. But the majority of the people in town have no idea what you're talking about. And the fact is, this wasn't meant to be deceiving. This was, as Mike pointed out, it was to open up the option if a better deal came for another piece of equipment.
Yeah.
We were able to expend the money to buy it. That's all that meant.
Yeah.
This isn't to try to deceive the community. This isn't try to promise a backhoe and then have everybody in the town, well, where the hell's my backhoe? They have no clue. So if you want, we can take the word replacement out of it. And just say buy a piece of equipment similar to or incomparable to or something to that effect.
And repair the back.
a similar piece that's rubber tire.
I personally was not opposed to buying a rubber tired excavator,
You're gonna buy a rubber tire excavator for $88,000, so.
but I don't think you're gonna buy a good used backhoe, period.
I'm not saying that you are, I'm just saying that you're. I mean, I'm with Dave. What are you gonna do? If the loader goes down, how are you gonna load the truck?
You're gonna have to repair the back. That it needs to be a backhoe here as a backup.
So
Right.
now we're just purchasing something, we're not even getting rid of something.
That's what it's, Mike's got his hand up. Go ahead, Mike.
Question for Cindy.
Yeah.
In the capital reserve account, they used to repair equipment?
No.
I don't think so, but I thought you might be.
Yeah, it says new equipment.
I just think we're going down the wrong road. Cause you're leaving nothing if the loader, and the loader's broke down, I mean. I can remember a couple of years ago, thank God nobody got hurt, but the thing got rolled off the sand pile and it was down for a little bit. If you didn't have the backhoe, what were you gonna do?
Well, that's
I mean,
my thoughts. In the wintertime, when you need the sand and the salt. And the backhoe goes, the loader goes down, you're going to have a backhoe to load the trucks, period. Now, whether you repair this one, buy a used one, but a mini excavator is not gonna load the trucks.
The other point on that backhoe in the winter time is luckily we don't have a lot of snowbanks now, but if you get a storm coming in with a lot of rain. You wanna be going around poking some holes on a snowbank and making water run off.
And that's a rubber tired vehicle, just like
You know,
an excavator is not gonna do that. That's gonna have to be trailered everywhere it goes.
if you pass it as a replacement for the backhoe, you don't have to spend it. Correct?
No,
Correct.
So if you decide that it doesn't need to do, that it can be repaired, you can repair it and you save it for next year.
Put that money back and put some more money in for capital. Guess, Ellie.
yeah, that's a good point. So this is one of the reasons we use capital reserve account. Is that they don't come up,
They don't lapse.
they don't lapse. Anything going in, because this happened with the police cruisers, because we couldn't get them because Ford didn't have them available. And they automatically are encumbered because you can only use it for that purpose. And I don't know if there's still a time frame on it. It's probably 5 years, but it definitely will hold over for another year. So if you use a capital reserve and they can't buy it, they don't have enough money, that money still sits there and waits. So that's another good reason to use it.
Can you explain more the road agent wants a mini excavator?
I do that best I can.
I can explain.
Wait just a minute. You know, I don't want that somebody speaking for the road agent. That's what we don't want to do, sat this, well, I think he
I
wants,
can suggest.
right,
That better?
go ahead, Ned.
Explain to me what a mini excavator does.
It just does, like with the backhoe, you have the loader part on the front and the excavator part on the back. This is just the back half, essentially.
And it's on tracks.
It just digs the
It's
ditches.
just the front, the other half.
It's just digging ditches and digging up culverts and things like that.
It's a backhoe on tracks.
And
Oh, I thought I tried.
Yeah, and it's on rubber tracks. It's scoop.
Yeah.
So that's why I said it has, anytime you move it, it has to be moved on a trailer. A backhoe can go up the road.
Sorry, okay.
All right, any other questions? Holy, when you're having fun, you don't realize it.
What did we ever, what are we gonna do? It's gonna be talking about the electric session, that's for sure.
Have we ever determined what we're gonna do with this article?
What's the decision on the article? Somebody got an idea, or are we gonna wait until deliberative session? Selectmen,
The only thing I would suggest is taking out the word replacements. By you either or put to replace the backhoe or a similar piece of equipment.
But
Replace
does
it
that
when we
mean
get
there's a-
So that means we need to get, that's fine. We need to get 25 people.
What forms the same job,
Similar, yes.
similar.
Yeah.
But if a grader doesn't do what a backhoe does, then is it similar?
No. No, it's, but we're not talking about it.
yeah, they're very different. It's two very
Yes.
similar pieces. of
Nate, go ahead.
Well, I might suggest that because no one's gonna come up with wording that's gonna be sufficient this evening in the interest of time. Gentlemen, I would suggest that perhaps a deliberative session, if you guys come up with some language that you think would be good, you could propose it and put it on the floor and then people could vote for it then, I think, because we're probably not gonna resolve this tonight with the proper language, right? It's too tight, it's not been reviewed, but that would give you guys a while to come up with that.
And it also would give us time to go back and talk to the road agent, and see exactly what specifically he wants.
And the road agent was planning on being at the deliberative session.
Okay, Ally, you got one more question?
I can't speak to the specifics, but I did request the CIP committee to tape its meeting. Because I think so much of what I went to a lot of the meetings and there was a lot to take in, and I'm sure there was stuff that I missed. And I can't emphasize enough, and I think if I'm here next year, I will buy a tape recorder and tape it myself. But my recollection is that the road agent came in and spoke about the reasons why he wanted the mini excavator. So it wasn't like something that he just dreamed up, and he had reasons. I can't remember what they were, but I was fairly impressed by his knowledge and what he was advocating for. It's all expensive, I know, and I don't advocate giving him everything he wants all at once. But he has his reasons, and it's too bad he couldn't be here. But if you look in the minutes, with the CIP minutes, it may be in there. But I think they need to be recorded from now on. If you're going to take budget committee meetings, the CIP needs to be done too, because the budget committee misses out, except for Sadie and Dan. The rest of the budget committee doesn't know what's happening, and there's a lot there.
Okay,
So,
all right, Mike, go ahead.
Article 4, this came up in a kindly thing, people able to follow more. It authorizes the reauthorizes the improvement for the water system. There's been several votes on this over the last 3 or 4 years. If this is defeated, does that mean that the project has to stop?
I would say yes, for the money that is not already part of the bond that was approved in 21.
Right, anything going
And that,
forward.
and that the,
into the barge.
yeah,
Including the grants?
the Shaheen money requires a 20% match, so if it goes down, that match goes away.
Really want to put yourselves in that position?
Sean, the lawyer, plus the people at EPA, or not EPA, I forget what their agency's name is, suggests that we have a warrant article to reauthorize these things. And if to the extent to accept the grant money and the extension of the money to the bonding money to an additional phase in an additional year.
All right, but all the budgets through October said that we were gonna have the match money based on the money we had from other sources, meaning the state funds and the money we had in the accounts. So that's where that match was coming from. So even though the match money were available next year, you still couldn't use it with the Shaheen money to do the project. Is that correct?
I do not know that to be correct, and
Is there any way, and I just asked this, and I don't have an answer for it, but maybe somebody could ask it, is there any way that's acceptable with the DR that you do this as an affirmation vote, or reaffirmation vote? As opposed to something that's automatically going to stop a $2 million project because of the funding is coming from the press.
I can check that with DRA. I'm assuming, and this is my opinion. I believe DRA will have some issues with this article. In some
Yeah, I
way,
think
shape,
they
or
will
form.
too, but I don't have any problems with the intent of the article. I just am fearful that there's a no on it. I mean, you could also get rid of that problem by having everybody in the town hall like speak to it and say, you really need to do this. Otherwise, you're gonna throw away $2 million. So that's another way of dealing with it. I'm just fearful, as you know, I didn't raise the issue of the product bill, the issue is that what happens if it goes down?
You, go ahead.
Not to keep this thing stirring. Article 7, you have about the same problem as you have in Article 6. About the similar.
Yeah. But then they don't recommend that.
I know they don't,
Well,
but just because they recommend it or not, doesn't mean it won't get voted in. And I'm just,
that's what three people need.
not a lot of clarification on those.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm looking for, you know. I go to the store, I kind of want to know what I'm buying. And I should probably ask this question as a citizen, oh, I know the answer as an employee, that how many times that dose has been used in the last 6 months, because I was asked a question about a UTV trailer last night for the fire department. And the comments were made, and that would have made, that the potential use of that would have been about 800 times what that dose has been used in the last. That's all.
6 months or 6 years. They'll never get you, does it?
That shows it in the cost.
Hardly anything.
That's why we.
Well, unless that dozer was falling apart, I would not replace it,
No. That doesn't-
because it's more than adequate for what we're using it for.
So.
All right, Wes, go ahead.
Mine's on the Article 12. The water and sewer non-lapse operation account.
Okay,
This $14,000, where's this coming from?
Unreserved fund balance.
Why am I paying for the town water and sewer? I can't even use it.
School uses town water.
I don't have anybody in school. I'm just asking a question. That shouldn't even be on there.
Yeah. So it says-
Everything else you have to vote on. Why is that in there?
And I agree with you. So,
Because I have a different outlook on this whole water and sewer. I don't think that I should be voting on any of that. Because I don't have town water and sewer, so I shouldn't reflect what the people that are paying for. Any more than they should reflect.
so you're saying it should be user funded.
Right.
just like the water sewer article 3, says that all the fees are paid for by the users, and that's not a true statement. If you go down the warrant and then turn around and ask them for more money, it's not true.
All right,
I use,
Mike, go ahead. Just give Mike a chance.
I'd like to speak out in favor of that article, because without the village, your town really is in deep trouble. And without a water and sewer system, it's in deep trouble. And the fact is that you're doing something like $1.8 million in repairs. And most of that's coming from the feds or the state, but not all of it. And it would cripple the users if they have to pick up more of the interest costs, and that was discussed all year long, and it was, the idea was raised months ago to put in some token amount. And that token amount reflects the value of the village to the overall town. That's all it does. It doesn't mean that you get, I mean, you do have the right to use the water or anything you go into a store or bathroom in the village. But there is a reason for doing that, and that's to maintain the life of the village.
So I can get a portion of that if I have to replace my septic system,
Actually, people,
water.
no, I'm just saying that people do use, I'm answering the question. That people do use the water. We have, whenever people run low on water, they come down and either fill up the fire station or the spigot on the counter.
Right, and they should have to pay for it, just like everybody else has to pay
And
for it.
people go into the hardware store, they have a hardware store because it has a bathroom, because it has services. And it's helpful.
It's not public.
If you don't want to do it, you're just saying, we don't need the village, and if that's the choice of the town. It's a really poor choice of the town, because the village is the heartbeat of this town.
Just remember, I don't have anybody in the school, but I still pay
Oh, I do
taxes for the school.
Right.
People that live on Route 4, the state plows are around, not the town, but they still pay for the town.
Yeah, we won't get
The
into,
votes that you have, well, the reason why you guys have to vote for it, the town has to vote for this, is because the town is committed, even if like any loans or grants, or anything that's gonna be paid back, is paid by user fees. It's still the town that's responsible for it.
I understand it, I don't,
That's why you have to vote.
right, I just don't agree with that. I don't think that if. I don't really do use it, then I should be I shouldn't be setting anybody's tax base or their water and sewer.
I just do not have to pay for the school, but I got it.
Right, I'm just saying, I don't feel it's not fair for me to. If two people want it and this one don't, it's not fair for me to vote, I don't have any use of it.
Any other questions?
You use the town water.
And now we have to just-
Building uses town water. The town hall uses town water.
Okay,
So you as a citizen of the town, you can use those services and use that water, you know.
Well, now we're getting into philosophical discussion.
the other discussion we have to discuss tonight, The other thing we have to discuss tonight is, do we continue this or do we adjourn? If we adjourn, we cannot come back. Do you think that we've discussed this adequately enough to adjourn the meeting? That's my question to the body. You still running?
I would move to adjourn.
For the budget committee's perspective, yes, I would say the selectmen may have to.
Closing the public hearing.
We're closing the public hearing. Yeah, we're closing the public hearing at 9:20. Is that all right? So now we're back to the discussion. Do we adjourn or do we continue this? If you think we're adequately discussed.
You close the public hearing. You just close the budget. The only thing.
Second that.
All right, we got a motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Yeah.
Just a quick note.
Wait just a minute, Ned's talking.
Just a quick note. The deliberative session is now still in the auditorium. The school, I'll say, messed up a little bit, but it was a screw. At the high school auditorium. The high school auditorium, February 4th, at I'll say approximately 1 p.m. Depending on how much the school lets out. Get in there.
That's on Saturday.
Saturday, February 4th.
What, 1 o'clock?
Is that 1 o'clock?
1 p.m. Well, let's just say approximately 1 p.m. because the school, I think is gonna run a little late, so we may just have to wait. Nobody likes.
Would you prefer, I got my checks in the mail today.
Everybody. Nope, didn't bound. You're all right.
Have does that.